Breaking news coming in from Bet365, and it's no surprise. Same game parlay from Bet365 just keeps getting better.
Well, it's even easier to make a bet. Choose from the most popular markets like hits, run line, totals, and home runs. So many to choose from.
Download the app, start building your bet, and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
On the Bossman show here with a special duo here, rising coaches, DI Lions is Dr. Marcus Bright and Adam Gordon, who's here on the show before with me here. Adam, Dr. Bright, how you both doing today? Good to talk to you both for the show, man.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much. Bossman show.
On your radio, you know what? Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Well, let me start off with this. I talked to Adam the day of the TSU game. I was going up there to see those guys play. The dance at Equity Inclusion Night there at Tennessee State University. But you all had to go to Minnesota that day for the Millock funeral. So I just wanted to ask you all about that experience in Minnesota that day after what happened again to another individual in that whole area. So just tell me about that, man, and being there with rising coaches, being there to be such a support for that family, and having those teams, the women's team in Minnesota sent a letter to the family as well. How important that was for their family to feel that love from their own hometown Gophers there.
Yeah, I'll let Dr. Bright field this. I'll tell you this, like it was right in the middle of our Equality and Inclusion Night campaign. And so we were kind of jet setting across the country, going to different schools. And Dr. Bright and I were both at Ole Miss for their Equality and Inclusion game. And we received a text message, and the stars kind of aligned. And we saw that, Minnesota women's basketball's Equality and Inclusion Night happened to be on the exact same day, just 5 miles away from Amir Locke's funeral. And I'll let Dr. Bright kind of tell the story from there, because I had planned to be there, but my travel, I got delayed in Chicago for like 7 hours. So I ended up getting there late, but it really was amazing how it all came together.
Yeah, as Adam mentioned, we were in the midst of an Equality and Inclusion Night campaign, which ended up being hosted and facilitated by over 140 colleges and universities across the country. And it, as history and fate would align itself, that on February 17th, the University of Minnesota women's team was hosting Rutgers, and they were already planning their Equality and Inclusion Night. And the funeral of Amir Locke, who was killed on a no-knock warrant in Minneapolis, the same city where many of the reactivation of a lot of activism in sports after the death of George Floyd, right there also in Minneapolis. And he was being funeralized on that morning, with the game happening that night. And we were able to facilitate communication between those that were around the family and the University of Minnesota women's team, and two of their starters sent a letter of support to the family. They had a moment of silence before the game. They wore Black Legacy T-shirts before and during the game that honored the trailblazing Black women's players at the University of Minnesota. They had on the video screens across the arena players speaking about the importance of diversity and inclusion and Black history. They honored champions of diversity and inclusion on the campus. And it's really, I mean, they did a phenomenal job. And we're talking about the flagship institution in the state of Minnesota, who up until I think last year was the only Division I athletic program in the entire state who has the hearts and minds of Minnesota. You grew up in Minnesota, it's a high likelihood that you want to go to the University of Minnesota, that you want to be a Golden Gopher. And so that kind of convening power that everyone in that arena that night were made aware of the situation with Amira Locke, were educated about some of the trailblazing Black players at the University of Minnesota women's basketball team. And they got to find out the multidimensional nature of the athletes that they're watching, that they're not just there to entertain you, but they're people. They have hopes and dreams and visions, and they come from communities that they want to have equal access and to the American dream. And so it was a phenomenal effort. Kudos to the University of Minnesota, their women's basketball program, Lindsay Whalen, Simi, Gray Miller, certainly Rising Coaches family, Aaron Sonata, the whole team. We flew into zero. I went from 80 degrees to zero in Minneapolis.
A pneumonia trip, let's call it. A pneumonia trip.
From 80 to zero, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Yes, indeed. And you know what, guys, is what I want to say this about what you are doing is because I feel it in media as well, guys. Like, it's not very many guys in my position in sports media. Let's be honest about that. And so what you're doing on the coaching side, how can we in the media come together as one to get diversity in the media as well? Because, you know, even though I have a platform and a name, I still catch some, you know, some stuff from Power 5 types and Group of 5 types who want to kind of close the door to people who aren't certain people. So how do you say to us in the media who are pushing that same envelope you are with coaching to help us or crack down the doors to get open to make SID see the diversity inclusion is good for media as well as the players on the court?
Well, I think, you know, it starts probably, you know, I would think media follows right there along with sports and entertainment, you know, and those sports and entertainment are the two most uniting powers in the world in the history of mankind. And, you know, media is right there to tell the story of it and to provide the context. And so, you know, with Rising Coaches and the amount of coaches that we have in our platform, you know, that was the end that we had access to. That was the access that we were able to leverage. And so, you know, because of our relationships in the industry over the last 12 years, because of the number of people we've helped over the years, you know, it's easy for us to organize something like this for an important cause. And I would imagine anybody who has equity in their field, like you do in media, you know, may be able to do the same thing by just, you know, convening people together, organizing and championing a cause. And of course, with this equality and inclusion campaign, you know, they've got games built in. And so that was a great thing to center this campaign around. So each school was able to designate a game as an equality and inclusion night. So that certainly lent itself to the cause for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And you all, the media can make anything important. You all have the megaphone. You can reach the masses. And that's an important putting issues on the radar. They're marching right now. They're reenacting the Selma to Montgomery march right now, trying to keep attention on the voting rights issue. So them doing the march is not meant to necessarily solve a problem, but to highlight the problem, to make those in power have to address it. And so, again, organizing and we're I mean, the DEI Alliance, I'm sure that we'd be happy to partner with you all to help to elevate those issues, because they are certainly connected, as Adam spoke about. And we can leverage our collective power to try to create new pathways of opportunity and access and equity in both industries, sports, media, entertainment. They all work together.
No doubt. And you know what, guys? Well, I also love what you're doing. As I said, you mentioned voting rights. I know there's a big campaign in 2020 about voting. It's not a voting year again, 2022. Do you all see yourself getting involved in helping schools getting guys registered to vote again and guys registered to vote again this year? I know last year made a difference. And as you see, I'm in Atlanta. You know, John Lewis, CT Vivian, Joseph Lowry, Justin Jackson, all these people came through where I live at today, historical figures. So how voting meant so much to them, how voting is your voice to enact change you want to enact. So is that something you all be doing this year with the DEI Alliance of Coaches to make sure you guys, again, register to vote? Let's just come up here in November, down here in 2022 here in Georgia, other states as well. It's very important. Elections are coming up here real soon.
Yeah, we want to support the efforts. There are already some tremendous efforts in the world of sports that are going on. The first campaign stop of this Equality and Inclusion Night that I attended was actually Clemson at Georgia Tech, and one of the Georgia Tech assistant coaches, Eric Revenue, had already been leading efforts to help student athletes get out to vote. And so we want to complement and expand and do all that we can to highlight those issues. And then one of the underpinning reasons for doing this is to leverage the power of sports and the platform that they have to encourage people to address certain issues, one of which is voting, one of which is civic participation. Adam mentioned that we were in Mississippi, and a few years ago, the Mississippi State running back said that I'm transferring if you all don't take the Confederate flag out of the state flag. Within a number of days, it was taken out. And that proved to be more effective in terms of getting the Confederate flag out of the Mississippi State flag than decades of marches and protests and rallies and everything else. And so being able to leverage the power of sports, particularly in certain strategic locations where sports can be tremendously influential, and to create the climate for players and coaches to be able to articulate and build alliances and support around issues that are important to them, so that people can understand that they're not just voting to vote, but you're voting to actually impact issues that will have a tangible impact on people's day-to-day life.
Yeah, and the other thing that we're trying to do is support coaches and really encourage them to speak up on issues. I think a lot of times coaches get so caught up in the competitiveness of the profession that they don't want to say anything that's gonna, in their minds, be controversial or upset the apple cart. They're worried about their fan base and boosters, and we're here to tell them, no, you have this platform for a reason. It's time to use it for what you believe in. Right around the time that the Senate, the U.S. Senate, voted on the John Lewis voting rights bill, West Virginia hosted a game against Baylor University, who at the time was #1 in the country. And so we were behind the scenes trying to encourage the West Virginia athletic department and coaching staff to send letters, make some sort of statement, wear T-shirts, whatever, to encourage their senator, Joe Manchin, who was one of the key senators blocking the bill from being passed, just to use, again, just like Marcus talked about with the University of Minnesota, West Virginia University has the same impact in that state. We weren't able to do that, but you did see other figures in sports like Nick Saban and Jerry West, two of West Virginia's legends, wrote letters to Joe Manchin. And so that's the type of, obviously our equality and inclusion campaign is out front and visible, but that type of behind the scenes work is definitely something we're advocating for and trying to work on all the time when the opportunities present itself.
Most definitely. That's so important you said it, Adam, because like you said, man, they have leverage and power, man, because people listen to them and trust them. They're like, oh, okay, Coach Saban's behind this, all these guys who are Jerry West is behind this. So I feel like sports figures have sway. And like, shout out to Coach Shea. I know last year, we talked about it last year as well, Adam, me and you did as well. He put his neck on the line for his players and stood by those players, and he got fired for it. And I'll tell them privately, bro, you did something a lot of coaches wouldn't even did. You stood by your players. And Coach A's an example. He said, Adam, I'm using your platform for good. He didn't care that what the boosters AD was talking. He was about this is what's right for my guys. I'll stand with my guys. So Coach A is a perfect example for any coach out there who's still on principle. He got hired by Steve Forbes again. He's running for new jobs now. Coach A is because of what he did. Because his players know this guy has my back and really trusted and believe in him. Knows some of the coach played for Jason Shea, he will have my son's back.
And I appreciate you shining the light on that last year and continuing it to this day, because what ETSU did by forcing him out really didn't receive the national attention that it probably should have had. You know, you had a coach who knelt with his players during the anthem and 2-3 months later was out of a job despite a 20+ win season, which is unheard of. And, you know, there were things that the university did to settle it and quiet the issue down. But I appreciate you speaking the truth about it, because those in the industry and those close to it know exactly what happened, despite, you know, the official statements that came out.
No doubt. And you know what's it's funny? I'll throw it out there. They won't let coach come on my show, which is fine. I'm like, good. That means I was right.
Exactly. And again, I just appreciate you. And we're the same way, you know, like we got into this thing not to appease, you know, the higher ups. We're in this thing to try to impact and make a difference. And so, you know, I was really proud of the fact that the DEI Alliance made a statement right away after that, you know, out front and in the public, expressing how we feel about it.
Most definitely. That was the main thing about it, Adam, because it was wrong. He was right, they were wrong, you know. And that's why I feel like this, Dr. Bright made a mention of this. In the South in particular, Adam and Dr. Bright, I feel like the fans care about the players on game day, but don't care about them beyond game day. For those 2 or 3 hours there in your uniforms, I love you, but don't care about getting killed by the police. Don't care about policy-wise, their living conditions back home. So for me, it's like that was always my fight. When I played ball myself, it's like these folks don't care about us beyond just today's game. They don't care if I eat, live, or die, whatever, beyond touchdown or whatever happened today. And I feel like that more coaches should push back against that with their fan bases. I know they want boosters and want money and want people to, but come on, right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, to Marcus's point earlier, again, you know, in Mississippi, they had that Confederate symbol on their state flag for years, and people have been trying to change that for decades. And as soon as the leading rusher for the Mississippi State football team said, I'm out of here if you guys don't change it, it was changed within 4 days. So it just shows you, you know, the power that athletics has. And, you know, if you leverage that, if you're willing to step out and put that on the line a little bit, you can get some things done.
And multiple coaches showed up at the state capitol to advocate for it. So it wasn't just one institution or one coach left out to dry, but multiple coaches came out, and that's the power of the alliance. As I look at, if you go to the Rising Coaches Twitter or the Rising Coaches DEI Alliance Twitter, you'll see a map of all of the participating institutions who participate in equality and inclusion night, and it's an incredible geographic footprint. And I think it can be even more powerful than even a pro sports movement, because not every state has a pro sports team.
100%.
But if you look at the geographical footprint, we are with Eastern Washington to North Dakota to Mississippi to a lot of these state schools, and even in cities like Memphis, where the Tigers are over the Grizzlies in terms of their hearts and minds. I mean, the Grizzlies are having a good season, but when the Tigers are rolling,
the Tigers
are rolling, it's Tiger Town, and it's time, and they can have a tremendous influence both on and off the court. And one of the great, and kudos to Adam Action Gordon. I'm calling him Adam Action Gordon. A lot of people, Adam is about taking action when he sees something I need to do, and he really spearheaded this campaign and put everything behind it. And we came in line. I said, a number of people said, "Hey, we're with you." But one of the things that we got to do was have a lot of conversations with coaches prior to the game, at shoot around with players. And I remember talking with Kermit Davis, who's from Mississippi, and his father played on the 1959 Mississippi State team that went 24-1, won the SEC, thought that they may be able to win a national championship. And the governor at the time, Ross Barnett, prevented them from playing in the NCAA tournament because the tournament had black players in it.
Wow.
And so I think that this was something that his father had to have carried for years. And then Kermit Davis carried it. And for him to be a part of changing that flag is like poetic justice, full circle. But it's probably something that he felt a long time ago, but it was sports bringing the opportunity and then having the backing of other coaches. And I think his comments of him saying, hey, I'm a native Mississippian and the flag needs to change was probably very impactful in terms of helping to change sentiments in the state capitol and getting that done.
Yes, indeed. And you know, it's bad for me, guys. When I drive from Nashville to Atlanta, 5 miles in Georgia, the Confederate flag is flying like it hits you in the face. It's on the left hand side on I-275 going like this, hits you in the face like God, makes you want to cringe. But it's like I hate what I see because it just signifies negativity. And I'm glad Kermit Davis stepped up. I've known him since MTSU, Murfreesboro, down the street from TSU, Murfreesboro, the Blue Raiders, and I was ready to change that name as well because I know what it actually means. I know Blue Raider. It really, for those who don't know what it really means they the Baker Forest's brigade was called the Blue Raider Brigade. That's what it really means. So it needs to be changed, to be honest with you. They changed Forest Hall there in the MTSU campus, but they ain't never changed the actual name of the school, the mascot name. But it's what a Blue Raider really means, guys. It really means that the Baker Forest man who's founded the KKK's brigade, the Blue Raiders. That's what it really is.
Yeah.
So,
and that's how deeply entrenched a lot of this is. You know, I grew up taking field trips to Nathan Bedford Forest State Park in Tennessee. My grandfather left Tennessee State University.
Exit 126 on I-40. I know right where it is.
Get this. My grandfather, he left the cotton fields of West Tennessee, went to TSU. He left TSU in 1942 to volunteer during World War II. He registered at Camp Forest in Tennessee. So that's we believed in the country more than the country even believed in us. Speaking as a Black American, fighting, going abroad to fight for rights he didn't even have here in many cases. But it was sports. You know, you look at Jackie Robinson in 1947. It opened up a lot of doors for people and broader mainstream society to have access to opportunity. And I'm just grateful to be a part of the new vanguard in terms to usher in, along with the Bossman, along with Adam Gordon, along with Daryl Jacobs, Brian Burton, Kim Hampton, Aaron Sanaa, many more. This is a new era. This has never been done. I'm gonna say it right now. This has never been done in the history of college sports for 140 colleges and universities to come together around issues of equality and inclusion in a coordinated and a unified way. Never been done before in the history of college sports. Done February 2022. Adam Action Gordon.
Action Gordon. Yes. And Adam is all about action. And Adam is, I can tell you what, man. Told Adam's offline, man. You all actually care and really put stuff to action to work, because a lot of people say they want to do something, but a lot of coaches is doing. You all actually out here making differences with coaches, getting them experiences, helping them get jobs, show them how to get jobs, giving that diversity, inclusion, and equity, because that's all. It's all that matters, man. Because like I told Adam this story offline, not out the bright, that I didn't learn about race till I was 6 years old, playing travel baseball. Right, there was some kids who looked like me, but guess what? They spoke French, Portuguese, Spanish. Had a white kid who spoke Spanish as well. A kid from South Georgia, a Canadian dude, a Japanese kid. I said, Dad, it's something. I'm 6 years old, guys. It's something weird. Like, these kids look like me. They talk different. then my dad was like, let me tell you a quick little story, son. He broke it down to me about slavery. Then I'm saying how he said, son, it's a point of a finger and a boat trip is why he speaks Portuguese, he speaks Dutch, you English, you Spanish, and him French. And he speaks English and he's a white kid. It's all a point of a finger. But the video guys with this guys, we didn't care. All we knew was hit the baseball, win the game, get another bus trip. Some guys we still friends to this day. So I know hatred is taught, guys, because 6 years old, we're all different backgrounds, but we all got along because we had a common goal to just win the baseball game and get on the bus again. It got me out of the hood for a few days, wherever they came them out of there. So for me, guys, like that it's not about 6 years old shows me that, hey, this world can change. It's changeable. Kids are taught to hate. Hate's not an acquired thing for a child. It's taught. And for me to get taught at less than 6 years old, that's typical all the time, guys. This is what they taught me about people. That's how I gauge my life. Because guess what? None of us kids did not care about what race we were. All we cared about was winning a game and seeing each other on the bus next day and winning some more.
Yeah, and again, that's the uniting power that sports has, right? Like it brings people together of all backgrounds around a common passion, a common goal, like you said. And that's what, like Rising Coaches is trying to awaken the coaching industry to, is like so many coaches, you guys, we have the ability to influence your athletes. And these athletes, they're all hometown heroes somewhere. These athletes are stars in their communities amongst their peers, and coaches have their blinders on 24/7 because the job is so competitive and so demanding and time consuming. There's a lot of things wrong with the profession. And so, yeah, Rising Coaches, that's what we try to do, is identify those blind spots. And because, I'm not in the profession anymore, I can really zero in on it, lock in on it, but I've lived it. So I know where to, we know where to look. We know what buttons to push. But yeah, come on now, coaches. Like, you guys are some of the most influential people in the country, for real. Like, when you think about it, the people you have access to every day and the amazing things that they go on to do. We're really just encouraging these coaches to educate your athletes, have these conversations with them. And then if they want to take a stand, let them do that. But these are 18 to 22-year-old kids, and a lot of them don't even know what's going on or aren't aware of all the facts. And some of them are, and they educate themselves, and that's awesome. But, as a coach, it's your responsibility to introduce your athletes to some of these issues and then let them make their own decisions and conclusions.
Go ahead, Doc.
I agree 100%. Leveraging and utilizing the power of sports. I grew up in Tennessee, and regardless of the history of the state and even the social segregation that may have been experienced in a town like Martin, Tennessee, where I'm from, on Saturday, we threw that orange on, and it was about Rocky Top, and it was about Go Vols, and it was about beat the Florida Gators, even though we rarely did. But we came together.
So let me ask you, so let me ask you, Dr. Bryce, you were on a Skyhawk fan, you was a Vol fan.
Tennessee football, Memphis basketball. And Skyhawks, I grew up pretty much on the campus. So I mean, I support the Skyhawks. Growing up, there wasn't a big winning tradition, but shout out to Martin, Tennessee. Salute.
Hey, exit 108. I know where the exit is going.
Yeah, he knows the exits. Sounds like you got some trips.
Exit 108, Huntington. I know where to go.
Yeah, Parker's Crossroads.
Yes, I know how to get.
Highway 22 North.
Yes. Hey, I have traveled those roads. I know how to get Moorhead. I can get the Eastern Kentucky, Murray. I know how to get all the places within OVC.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes, I remember Adam was at SEMO for a while, Cape Girardeau. I know how to get to Cape very easily. So, I remember all those trips. I remember all of them. Yeah, man, like you said. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'll just say, and the best thing is that, we now have a national organizing platform that we can do a number of different things with, beginning here in Miami on the 23rd and 24th with an empowerment series focusing on economic empowerment. There's a big tech boom going on here. We got a lot of the major tech companies coming in to talk to the student athletes, also presentations on financial investing and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that to financially empower the student athletes. We're coming behind that with this symposium series to give space and time and effort and attention to hear from coaches, from administrators, from athletes about their issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then partnering with some of the best researchers in the country to be able to produce documentation on how athletic administrations are doing in their hiring processes and in their contracting processes and that kind of thing, and then figuring out ways working together to try to create systematic solutions to improve what we know as sports and improve issues in our society through sports.
No doubt. Adam, any final thoughts, Adam, before you wrap up, brother?
Man, Bossman, I just appreciate you having us on the show and leveraging your platform. Would definitely love to have further conversations about, ways we can help with equality and inclusion in the media. But it really has been remarkable to see, this equality and inclusion campaign come to life. It was something that we had talked about and was a thought back in 2020 while we were hosting social justice roundtables through Zoom after George Floyd was killed. We kind of waited to see if the NCAA or somebody, a bigger organization would run with something like this in 2021. It didn't happen. We sat down in one of our meetings and said, hey, if no one else is going to do it, we're going to do it. We need to organize a campaign in college basketball around this topic. And I'm just so grateful for our team, Dr. Bright, Daryl Jacobs, Brian Burton, Kim Hampton, Aaron Sennett, really made this thing come to life. And we did it out of our kitchen, basically, sending out, our equal sign lapel pin that I'm wearing now to every single Division I men's and women's program in the country, emailing with every AD, marketing department. It was a lot of work that went into it, but to see it come to life and over 150 universities across the country from coast to coast take part in it was really remarkable to see. And it really is just the beginning. Now it's an established campaign. It was a great awareness piece that we're really looking forward to build on. And really now the work begins to make the impact.
No doubt. Dr. Bright, any final thoughts?
Thank you again. And thank you to Adam Action Gordon. Thank you, Boss Man Show. The best is yet to come.
You got there right, folks. That's Dr. Marcus Bright, Adam Gordon on the Boss Man Show on your radio. Special guest today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do this again real soon, people. We are out.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. T&Cs apply. Available in app only.